Hi, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making ghee, and I wanted to show you really how quick and simple this process is. So I've already started cooking the ghee. I have about a pound of unsalted butter here. And so I have just melted the butter and brought it to a bit of a simmer on a medium-low heat. And so if you want to just take a peek here and see, as the butter begins to simmer, it'll start to foam, and you'll see this sort of foamy top. And so just using a metal spoon, I'm moving the foam out of the way so that I can see through to the ghee underneath of it. And so this process is just cooking off any water that is in the butter. And then at the same time, you can start to see, as it cooks a little further, the little bits of milk fat that begin to crumble and sink to the bottom of the pan. So one of the really great benefits of ghee is that by the time we have cooked it down, there really is no milk fat left in the ghee. And so it really becomes just a beautiful, pure oil that is so healing on the gut and so wonderful for digestion. And it has a really nice nutty taste as well. And so it's really not even considered dairy by the time we're finished taking the milk fat out. So as you can see, it'll just continue to simmer, and the whole process might take maybe 15 or 20 minutes. It's really not a very difficult process. It's just patience. So just staying with it and just continuing to move the foam out of the way. I'm going to tap the heat up just a little bit, just to make sure that the milk fat is separating out from the oil. And so after a few minutes, you'll start to see this oil really start to clear up, and you'll be able to see these little crumbles at the bottom. And again, in the meantime, you have this nice foam at the top. This is just all the water that's cooking off of the ghee. So the butter that I'm using is butter that I get from a local dairy near my home, and it's a hand-rolled butter. But you can really use any kind of butter, but depending on the quality of your butter, you'll get a different amount of foam coming up to the top. So you want to get a nice organic unsalted butter, and then just keep working with the ghee. So this is one of those things that you really don't want to take your eye off of it, because it can burn very quickly. But you do want to let it cook enough to get a nice toasty brown color. So we'll just let this continue to simmer. I'm going to just keep moving this foam out of the way, and you can see it's starting to dissipate a little bit. There's not quite as much as when we started. We'll just let it continue to cook. And now you're starting to see these little bits of the milk fat. So I'm moving the foam out of the way so that I can keep an eye on these little bits, so that I can see when they reach just a nice toasted brown color. So every batch of ghee that you make, you'll find, will be just a little bit different, and that's okay. It's pretty hard to ruin ghee, really. It's quite a simple process. But I often get emails and pictures of people's ghee, and they're concerned that maybe they overcooked it. You really don't need to worry so much about it overcooking. Again, you're just bringing it to a nice toasty brown, but even if it gets a little on the darker side, that's still okay. It's not ruined. Just keep going. You're doing fine. So this is really an integral part of your cleanse. Not only will you be using your ghee to make your meals and to make your khichdi, but we are going to begin ingesting ghee as we enter into the oleation phase of our cleanse. And so we'll take this ghee in the morning on an empty stomach, and what this ghee will do is bind with the toxins that are releasing into your system. Turn it down just a bit. And then when you purge, the ghee will just carry all those toxins out of the body, and you're going to feel wonderful. It's a really great process, this spring cleanse. So I'm really starting to get a nice clarity here. I'm starting to be able to see through to the bottom a little bit more. The foam is dissipating. And so what I'm looking for here is, as the ghee is just about finished, you'll notice that it starts to foam up again, but the bubbles are much bigger. So the bubbles right now are quite small. And as it continues to cook, these bubbles get bigger and bigger as the water cooks off. The milk fat is sinking down to the bottom. And I'll just continue to clear that away. And so next to me here, I have my jar ready to go. You want to store your ghee in a clean glass container. And I have a piece of cheesecloth cut and ready to strain my ghee. So you want to make sure that you're set up before you start cooking the ghee so that you can stay with it. You don't have to walk away from it. And your ghee will stay stable without refrigeration as long as it's in a clean, sealed jar. You do want to be careful when you're using your ghee that you're using a clean utensil each time you dip into the ghee. You don't want to introduce any water, any moisture, or using a utensil that has some food on it to introduce bacteria into your ghee. So as long as you're keeping the ghee free from bacteria, it will last up to 6 months or so, really, on the countertop. And if you put it in the refrigerator, it can last up to a year. Not that ghee ever lasts that long in my household, because I use ghee for everything. It's such a great substance. So we're starting to see a lot more of the milk fat. If you take a close look here, you can see these bits floating up to the top. Let's see if I can stir some up. See those chunks there? This is the milk fat that is in the butter. And you can see how the butter is starting to clear up. It has a really beautiful yellow color to it, and as it continues to cook, it'll get just a little bit browned, a little bit toasted. And so we're getting near done here, and I'm able to see through now to the bottom. So I know that I'm getting close to finished with my ghee. Much less foam on the top than when we started. And so this looks really well separated. And now what I'm waiting for is just those bits of milk fat at the bottom to turn a little bit brown. And we're ready to strain. So we'll just give this a couple more minutes. And the smell is so delicious. It really has a toasty sort of an aroma and a taste to it. So it does taste a little bit different than butter. Quite delicious. And so you can use ghee, drizzling it into any warm dishes like soup. You can drizzle it over your oatmeal in the morning. Drizzle some into your kitchery. You can cook with it. It's a great oil for cooking. Really wonderful. This is looking beautiful. And now I'm starting to see a little bit of the browning just around the edges. It's starting to get a little bit brown. And I'm going to let that go for just another couple of minutes. And you can see that the bubbles now at the top are much bigger than when we started. It was much more foamy in the beginning. Now you see these bigger bubbles coming up. Now you know it's just about done. And again, you can see to the bottom all that milk fat that's down there. And so that's just starting to brown a little bit. And so as you get more experienced with making your ghee, you can start to play with how brown you like that to get. Some people like it a little more toasted, a little bit more of that sort of toasted flavor, and other people like it much lighter. And so you can determine how you like your ghee. But most importantly is that we have this nice clear. You can see how clear this is becoming. And you can even see on my spoon here some of the milk fat that is stuck. And so this is what we don't want to ingest. This is where we get cholesterol and clogged arteries and things like that from our butter. If we take that all out, this becomes a really healthy oil to use, where butter may be a bit heavy and clogging to the channels. So this is looking really good. We're going to give it maybe about another minute. Again, it's nice and toasted on the edges, still a little bit light in the center. So I'm going to let that go just another minute. Beautiful, really nice and clear. This looks great. So I'm going to get ready to go ahead and transfer this into my jar. So I'll just turn off the heat here, and I'll take my cheesecloth and just drape it over the jar, and then I'll go ahead and strain the ghee. So pouring it right into the cheesecloth. And can you see all that milk fat at the bottom of the pan? This is all the stuff that you don't want to ingest to clog up the arteries and the channels of the body. But just left with this beautiful golden oil. So again, an integral part of your cleanse, ghee is really important. And so certainly you can find ghee in just about any grocery store these days. It didn't used to be the case, but now you can find ghee just about anywhere. But why not make it yourself? Because it's that easy. So here is the milk fat at the bottom of the pan. Look at all of that. So this is what we want to discard. Some people do like to save that. That's a wonderful moisturizer. But that's a whole nother video. All right, and there we go. So we'll set the cheesecloth aside. And there is your ghee, golden, beautiful color and ready for your oleation. So I hope you enjoy making your ghee, and do post some pictures. Show us how your ghee turned out. I'd love to see it.